Sam, just what you saw, not only last night out of Mitch Marner, but throughout the whole streak, is this where you thought a fourth pick overall would end up back then? Is he exceeding even your expectations after watching him and play for the London Knights?
You know what, Kipper, he's exceeding my expectations, and the only concern I had about him at that time was his size. And he's still kind of slight of frame, although he's obviously thickened up and strengthened up a little bit. But, man, that same lightness he had in his feet he had in junior, his ability to know where to go, that was evident in junior. His hand-eye coordination is ridiculous. The edge work, crazy. All of those things were present in his game in London. But to think that he was going to play to this level and become, almost a 100-point guy last year and on that pace again this year, that's pretty amazing stuff for a guy who's his size. But there's no doubt the talent was there.
Cos, what have you seen in the evolution of young players playing in the NHL? It feels like it used to be such a different process trying to break in, and now guys kind of get in sooner. What has changed over the years for you?
I think a lot of individual training.
Yeah.
There's been such a focus on that. So everyone has all these high-end guys have skating coaches. They have skills coaches. They have nutritionists. They have mental health coaches or sports psychologists, if you will. So there's a plethora of things that they're doing now that in the days that you and Kipper grew up playing was, let's go to camp. That's when we'll get in shape, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll. Well, that's changed. It's an all year round thing now. It's dedication for a lot of these kids at the age of 9, even 10 years old, and it's no other sports on top of that. So all this individualized training, I think, is what has allowed this to happen. But you have to give credit to the coaches too. There's a lot of really good people out there in terms of skill development, skating coaches that have used technology and have studied the craft that they're in and really perfected it. So I'm impressed on that part. But for me, it's all about the individualized skill that people are utilizing coaches for now that they didn't use in your age.
Sam, I just want to go back to 2015 for a second. That was Mitch Marner's draft, and I know that you've covered it for Sportsnet over the years, and I don't know how far back you ever went in terms of looking at prospects to stars to Hall of Famers in the last, 50, 60 years. But where would 2015 personally rank for you? Is it sometimes it's regarded as the best ever? Is that how it stands out to you? And we're talking, of course, McDavid, Eichel, Strome, Marner, and then it goes down the list. But there's some $7-8 million players everywhere out of that draft.
Yeah, it's crazy how that depth worked, right? And everyone was talking about McDavid and Eichel, and you remember Tim Murray, who was the general manager at Buffalo at that time, and he made it pretty clear that he was in tank mode to get McDavid. And, of course, they lose the lottery. He ends up with Eichel, who's obviously still a good player, but I don't think he's the player that McDavid is. And then you go down that list. Like it's really impressive. I still think, though, Kipper, there's a lot of time left for that group to continue to create their mark on the game. And I think the one thing is now when you look at that group of players, now you want to start talking about championships. The individual stuff that's great, but what makes a great player is his ability to take his team to the next level to win a cup. And, when you're talking about McDavid, he's in that boat right now. Yeah, they did pretty well last year, but until he raises a cup, I think everyone will think of him as Nathan McKinnon, as one of the greatest players in the world, if not. But to win, you really need to, that solidifies things for me. And Mitch Marner's in the same boat. I mean, to win a round would be huge for Mitch Marner and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think McDavid's a little bit further along with his team, but this Toronto Maple Leafs team is looking pretty good right now. I think, though, that 2015 group, you got to add winning into the mix before you start talking about, greatest players of all time.